Hello, I am Exit Light, and this is my channel, and welcome. Today is going to be a little something different than normal. I would like to have a conversation, and it's going to be about night terrors. I have experienced night terrors, and this is going to be about the two different types of night terrors I've experienced. It will be unedited, so if I make a mistake, it will be left in, and sorry about that. If you would like to join the conversation, which I would really love, and you are interested in night terrors or have had night terrors, comment below. Let's talk about night terrors. Describe yours. If you've had ones that are different than mine, please feel free to write and tell me about yours. If what brought you to this channel is the discussion of night terrors, welcome. If you want to look around and enjoy my content, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you would like to be notified of new content, click that bell. And please like the video. My content is usually creepypasta that I write myself and narrate. I also do true unsolved murder mysteries, which I really enjoy. I am always up for suggestions on content or story ideas. So if you would like to leave an idea, that would be much appreciated as well. And let's get going. So, I have experienced two types of night terrors. One is the, I don't want to say average, but stereotypical night terror that you would hear about. Those started when I was probably 23. I feel like for me, night terrors tend to be connected to certain kind of medications. Not crazy medications, but things that everybody has taken, most everybody. For instance, antibiotics. There's something about a certain kind of antibiotic that gives me night terrors. But the original night terrors I started getting were the stereotypical ones that I have heard about, and I will describe mine to you because it is a little different than others. But what I would experience is I would be awake, aware of my surroundings, but in that paralyzed state that your brain puts you into when you're sleeping so that you don't act out your dreams, which is in general a good thing. And so what I would hear is footsteps coming down a hallway. And I would describe that sound as an empty hallway in a school or a hospital, maybe a gym, because the footsteps are echoing and they start off far away, and I immediately realized that this is a night terror. In the beginning, my very first one, of course, I didn't recognize that that's what it was, and I thought what was happening to me was real. But what I would do is hear these footsteps. I would very clearly feel a presence, which felt like, in my case, a male presence, come into my room. I could very clearly feel that there was a depression on my bed where it felt like they were climbing onto the bed. And when they very first happened, of course, I would become very panic-stricken because I, like I said, didn't recognize that it was not happening because I was awake. So I would become very, very panicky and try and scream out and try and move. And of course, my brain's job is to stop that from happening. So the more panic-stricken I got, it felt like the more I was never going to get out of the night terror. I would feel this presence climb on top of me and try and suffocate me. It was as real as the reality in which I am sitting here now discussing this experience with you. As I had more and more night terrors, I began to realize that the quickest way for me to get out of a night terror is to relax. Let it happen. Understand that it's going to happen. And even being aware that it is a night terror, it's still, as the word would suggest, terrifying. Because it's very real. The experience is very real. The feeling of somebody next to you is very real. The fact that you can feel their body weight on top of you is very real. The fact that you feel as though you're suffocating is very real. But also, I would have to tell myself, this is not real, this is not real, this is not real. And the more I was able to calm down, the sooner I was able to break that paralyzation. And that went on for off and on, not all the time, but off and on, has always gone on now. So a couple of years ago, I experienced a different kind of night terror in which I was on an antibiotic and I fell asleep, except I woke up. I was awake, but I was paralyzed. But it felt very, very, very different than the night terrors that I had become accustomed to. I felt as though I was deeper into some consciousness that I cannot really explain, except to say that it was this empty, dark, cold feeling. And rather than feeling that there was a man as a presence, I felt as though the blackness was the presence. I knew in my awake state that I was what I, after a couple of these, began to describe as a third state of night terror paralysis. I was in a much deeper state. And I had to talk to myself to get out of the third stage, which was the bottom basement stage, the part that felt evil at its very core. This sense that if there is a hell, that this cold, dark removal from all light, all kindness, that it would be similar to this. And that stage would fight against me to keep me in that state. It would trick me into thinking that I had woken up. And I would be awake thinking, okay, I've come out of that paralyzed state. Everything's fine, except for I was not unparalyzed. And I could not figure it out. And I would start having that dark, dark feeling, that presence of the entire blackness being that dark feeling. I would struggle to get out of that state. Consciously talk myself into getting out of that state. Get to the point where you become unparalyzed. And then there would be a second stage where I would think again that, okay, I'm not paralyzed, I've woken myself up. But I was not. I was in a second state. There was a being, a black being present, but it was not touching me or sitting next to me. It was just there. And I would have to talk myself out of that state. And it got to the point where I could not talk myself out of that state. I would have to tell myself, scream, scream. And I would try to scream to get myself out of that state so I could get to just a night terror. My goal was to get to what I would call the first level, which is stereotypical night terror, and I would say scream, just scream. But of course, I'm paralyzed, But in my head, I would scream and concentrate on removing myself to get to that first level of just, quote unquote, the night terror. And eventually I would get to that first level and be in the position where I would have to talk myself, be calm, be calm, be calm. And it got to the point where being calm would not release me out of the paralyzation. And I would scream until my paralysis broke, and I would jolt up in bed screaming and terrify anybody who had heard that. And it was happening every single night that way, and I was petrified to go to sleep because I knew that I would be trapped in this third state of paralysis while being awake with this complete empty feeling. So I actually got to the point where I would ask someone to please touch me. During one of these night terrors, I had my dog rub up against my arm, and when my dog rubbed up against my arm and I was awake and aware that the dog was rubbing up against my arm, my paralysis immediately let go. And I was able to sit up, and that gave me the idea that I needed to have somebody touch my arm, help come in every hour, touch my arm in case I'm in that third state and I can't, or I'm in that second state and I cannot get out of it. Please come in, please touch my arm. So that lasted for about a week, I would say. Now, here's where this takes an interesting turn. I could not get over this feeling that third stage was. It was something very, very primal. Something that felt like it was at the base of my skull, that was a primal memory of something, or this primal reality of something that exists. And my father came to visit me, and I said, hey, I need to talk to you about something, and it's very, very weird. So try not to be too judgy. And I was telling him about this experience and telling him about this dark, foreboding blackness that enveloped me, that I knew for sure, if there was a hell, that this was it. This feeling of removal from love and kindness and light had to be what that would feel like. This basic instinct of, quite literally, terror. So he listened to me, and when I got done, he said to me, now let me tell you my story. And I thought that was interesting because he didn't automatically say something, psychological, or, that must have just been a very bad dream or whatever. He said, my father had lung surgery, and they had cracked open his chest and had to remove part of his lung. And when he got out of surgery, they had given him an antibiotic. And he explained to me that he had had the exact experience right down to feeling that it was some basic back of the brain stem core feeling of some reality, something that was real, and the true existence of evil is, he felt that at the time that maybe some people experience this on a level that isn't 3 stages down in a night terror, but much closer up, and maybe that's what causes true evil, because it it did feel that way. And his eyes were watering as he was telling me the story, and I was in shock because most people have the same sort of night terror experience. There's some little differences. Not everybody hears a footstep. Not everybody has someone actually sit on them, but they generally feel the presence of a black figure. They generally know that something is touching them, or that the bed next to them is being depressed by weight. But I had never ever heard anyone talk about a night terror that was this dark, this deep, something of this profound, monumental experience. And here he was telling me that the same thing happened to him, and that he understood this basic, dark, deep sense of evil, and that he had spoken to his doctor about this. And when he said that, when he told his doctor, he thought, he was going to get the reaction that I expected to get from my father, and the doctor did not react that way. The doctor understood what he was saying, believed what he was saying, and took him off of that medication. And so what I guess what I want the conversation to be about is, ironically, there's a thunderstorm here. You might have just heard that. Ironically, what I would like this conversation to be about is, have you ever had a night terror that is deeper, more profound, I don't know, bigger than the stereotypical night terror? And also, when you have night terrors, how do you get out of them? Have you gotten to the point where you can talk yourself into becoming unparalyzed, that you can cause your brain to release you from that dream state of being paralyzed? And that is my story and my experience, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I hope you will engage in a conversation. I would really love that. I really don't tell many people about this story because it is so unusual, so personal, was such a profound experience that I probably in my life will never shake the feeling of that empty, dark, complete removal of anything that had to do with joy. And so I would really love to have a conversation about that, or anything to do with night terrors. And like I said, if you enjoy this channel and you are not yet subscribed, I wish you would do that. I am going to be having another Amazon gift card giveaway coming up to grow my channel and to get new subscribers interested. If you would share my channel with your family and your friends, people you know that like scary and creepy stories or real true murders, that would be awesome. And then when I have the contest, the rules will be very simple. You'll be subscribed or subscribe and like and comment. So if you want to already get 1/3 of the way there, I would love that. If you want to comment, I always comment back. I try to always comment back and engage in conversations with my subscribers. I hope I do that well. I enjoy this very much, and I enjoyed sharing my experience with you today, and I hope you enjoyed hearing it. Thank you, and good night.